Welcome to Chalk Talk. I'm Chris Love.
I'm Zeke Horowitz.
And I'm Jane Mackey.
Chalk Talk is presented to you by U.S. Sailing, who offers a special discount to college sailors. It's a full-fledged U.S. Sailing membership at a special discounted rate, so head on over to ussailing.org/college and get your discount today.
For our weekend review, we begin at the Ted Ferrarone team race hosted by Roger Williams, a mix of conditions as RWU puts on 72 races for the 8 teams in attendance. And guess what? Harvard wins almost a quarter of those races, 17-1. 17-1. So this is the second tier team race of the weekend, but still, it's not like these are beginner teams out there. This is just an amazing performance by this young team from Harvard. 3 sophomore drivers plus another sophomore, freshman, and junior in the front of the boats. I just would have loved to see these guys at the main event this weekend, the Sneeder.
The St. Francis Yacht Club welcomed 27 teams from across the country to their annual interconference regatta, where Saturday brought some light, fluky conditions in the morning. The best sailors were easily identified by their ability to figure out the wacky wind shifts, crazy tides, and breeze ranging from 8 all the way up to 25 knots. A couple delays, the race committee overcame them though and got in 6 races in each division before calling it a day Saturday. And Sunday morning, teams were able to get their Easter fill by participating in the annual St. Francis Yacht Club Easter Petting Zoo. That's right, I said petting zoo. So after getting their faces painted and sanitizing their hands, teams went out Sunday morning for some more fluky, wacky, light conditions. A couple squalls and big wind shifts, but the race committee gets in 3 more races in each division to complete the regatta. And hey, check it, Chris James, scoreboard. I'm on the board. Stanford finally comes through for me, getting me that ever-elusive first win on the Chalk Talk prediction contest. Congrats also to the Washington Huskies for coming in second, as well as having the top women's team.
Nice to have you join us on the board, Zeke. Now moving on to the Dallin Bar this weekend, it was a tough day on Saturday. Very, very shifty, lots of one-track beats and restarts in the middle of races. The breeze came up on Sunday and with speed, Yale stole the show. Now they had been struggling on Saturday, so it's an amazing way to finish with 6 wins in the last 6 races. They narrowly win over Navy. Congrats to the team in A Division. It was Morgan, Eugenia, and Erska, and in B Division, Claire and Kate.
Host Conn College set aside their Easter weekend to run some team-style races for 12 teams visiting the Northeast at the Southern New England team race. Some light breezes out of the north and west on Saturday morning, better breeze on Sunday that was building all day. They were able to complete just 1 full round robin plus a final 6. Much like the Zambecki last weekend, teams were super close. In fact, only 2 wins separated the top 5 at this one, and we saw a 3-way tie for second. I think we can all agree the big story from this weekend is that this guy here gets not 1 but 2 wins on the Chalk Talk prediction contest, courtesy of Yale this weekend getting the job done at the Sneeder. So Chris and Jane, look out, I'm rolling now.
There you go, Zeke. Now you're getting the hang of it. Well, now we turn to see what the coaches thought in this week's Sailing World Rankings.
Hey, Chris. In the 4th college rankings this spring season, you'll notice that the top 10 co-ed teams look a lot like they did the last time we spoke. Yale is still on the top of that poll, while Stanford has just squeaked by Georgetown into the 2nd place spot. 4th place through 10th place are actually the same as the last time we spoke, and beyond that, MIT and Dartmouth get a little bump up this week, while Hobart, Old Dominion, and South Florida all drop down a few spots. The University of Washington joins the also receiving votes section with 6 points. On the women's side, the coaches have solidified their opinions on that first place team. 15 first place votes went to Yale, 9 first place votes went to Boston College. Navy gets bumped up into 3rd place, and Tufts makes a reappearance in the top 10. They're ranked 7th. And Harvard, South Florida, and MIT all make it back into the top 15 this week after appearing in the also receiving vote section last time around. This week, 7 teams are in that also receiving vote section, and you'll see it's pretty close. Connecticut College, for instance, only a couple points from making the top 15.
We've got 2 very NISA-centric interconference regattas this weekend in the Boston area, and in case you were wondering, NISA-centric is a term coined by our very own Chris Love, who, if you didn't know already, really likes NISA. So that would be the Freeze Marciando, hosted by Tufts and MIT, as well as the President's Women's Trophy to be sailed at Boston University.
And can you believe it? Spring championship season is already here. We've got 6 championships coming up this weekend with another 15 to tick off before nationals. In total, all 7 districts will be qualifying women team racing and co-eds for a total of 77 spots to semifinals and nationals. So we've got all the details for you here.
At the Prosser Regatta, which is the Mesa Team Race Champs, 8 teams will race off for 3 spots. The lineup includes Georgetown, St. Mary's College, Navy, Hobart William Smith, ODU and SUNY that qualified for this Nationals qualifier at the War Memorial Trophy Regatta in the fall, plus Washington College and Cornell, who both qualified from the Team Race Challenge sailed at Washington College a couple of weekends ago. Going into the weekend, Mesa teams are in rather a unique and level position. Having lost quite a few of their starting performers last year, this weekend their performance perhaps may rest on the shoulders of some of their freshmen. Though we expect that St. Mary's College, Georgetown, Navy, ODU and Hobart will be the top competitors for this regatta, one coach described the event as wide open. The top group will have to be careful not to lose a race to SUNY, Washington College or Cornell, as these races could be the ones that count in the end.
Well, St. Mary's always gets hot this time of year, and I think, we didn't see them show all their cards this past weekend at the Sneeder, sending some of their second string guys, but I think that their top team is going to be ready to take on Georgetown. It'll be a battle, but I think the Seahawks might just take the win. Georgetown is my pick for first or second. I think probably second. And then third, I'm taking Navy. Despite their potentially stiff legs after the long drive north, I think the midshipmen are going to get it done over Hobart William Smith.
I'm picking Georgetown coming off a solid performance last weekend, along with St. Mary's College. With all the Mesa teams making the trek up to Hobart William Smith to sail in their 420s, I'm thinking Hobart may have a nice home advantage, so taking them for the 3rd slot.
Well, I'm with Jane on this one. I think G-Town is clearly the favorite to win over the Seahawks, and I like Hobart for that 3rd spot. I think Bieber Norfleet's going to come out wanting to redeem himself from that horrible capsize he had a couple weekends ago, and I think they're going to come out firing on their home waters.
Next, we turn our attention to the Pacific Northwest for the NWICSA Co-Ed Championship hosted by University of Washington. I've got this preview report from Philip Gordon, the coach over at Oregon. After their 2nd place finish last weekend at the St. Francis Invitational, the University of Washington is going to be the team to beat. The 2nd berth will be a shootout between Western Washington, Oregon State, University of Oregon, University of Victoria, and University of British Columbia. WWU has a deep lineup. OSU also has a young and talented team of freshmen and sophomores, and they'll be mixing things up in the top of the fleet, but they might lack the experience to put it all together. OU will be fighting for a spot, and then the Canadian schools, UBC and University of Victoria, are the wild cards. They could surprise everyone late in the year. Light shifty wind is usually the norm at Sail Sand Point in Lake Washington and Seattle. Consistency, as always, and coming in mentally prepared at this point in the season will be the difference between qualifying and not. Thanks, Philip Gordon, for that report. I'm going to take your word for it, and also based on the results, I think University of Washington in 1st, Western Washington taking that 2nd berth.
I'll follow you up with University of Washington and the young guns from OSU.
What she said. SASA Co-Ed champs are going to be sailed this weekend at the Magnuson Resort Marina Cove, which is the site of the 2013 ICSA National Championship to be hosted by Eckerd and USF. I think everybody knows the Cougars are going to win this one, led by Captain Critter with Morgan Buckley and Brooks Clark, alongside the freshman phenom duo of Jake Reynolds and Emily Stewart. Last time they were in Florida, they won the Eckerd Intersectional by about 1 million points. Look for the Stocky Bros to get it done for USF to come in 2nd, and I think Eckerd's going to get it done, finish 3rd, and earn a berth to the semis. The next 3 spots are a little bit open. I think I like Miami, Clemson, and Jacksonville to round out my top 6.
Well, Zeke, I'd like to argue with you here, but you're right. College of Charleston, definitely the most dominant team in SASA still, but a lot of other good talent here as well. USF and Eckerd, 2nd and 3rd. Then I'm thinking Miami, Florida, obviously. We haven't seen that much of them this season, but they've got a lot of talent. And for that last spot, it's tough, but I'm taking Clemson.
And yep, I'm taking your lead on this one, Chris. Florida over Jacksonville.
PCCSC, the Pacific Coast Conference, is going back to an old tradition, hosting team race champs and co-ed champs on the same weekend. Tomorrow, that's Friday, San Diego Yacht Club will host the Patagonia Team Race Conference Championship for the Carter Ford Trophy. Congratulations on the title sponsorship, by the way. Now, assuming they can get through at least a round robin tomorrow on Friday, the regatta will end at sundown, and then Saturday will begin the Patagonia Co-ed Conference Championship for the Healy plaque. SDYC is breaking into the college sailing market with this regatta here, apparently as practice for 2016 Nationals, which they've put in a bid to host.
For the team race event, Stanford is the obvious favourite choice for the win, but watch out for UC San Diego. An insider tells us that they've been spending some serious time practicing up on their team race moves, so that will be my pick this weekend.
Jane and I have been spending a lot of time together, Stanford and San Diego.
Well, I'll take Stanford too, but for my second pick, I'm taking Hawaii, second at the McIntyre team race. They're going to get it done, and we'll see them at Nationals. Then on the weekend, those 8 teams are joined by 4 more for the Patagonia Co-ed Conference Championship for 3 spots at semifinals. Now, the big regatta of the spring was the St. Francis Invitational, so we'll look at that to try to figure out who's going to be the top performer this weekend, but it could be a very different regatta. San Diego is usually a pretty light wind venue.
Again, picking Stanford, UC Santa Barbara also consistently up there, and Santa Clara. Maybe a bit of a curveball, but they did pretty well last weekend, so that's my pick.
Well, yeah, definitely like Stanford here, and second and third I'm going to go with UCSB along with the Rainbows from Hawaii.
Yes, I'll take Stanford for that number 1 spot. For the other 2, I'm just going to have to stick with the numbers here. CSU Long Beach was 3rd at St. Francis, and then UC Santa Barbara, who finished 5th.
The CISA Co-ed champs are going to be sailed at Galveston with 3 berths to the Nationals. I like Galveston at home, followed by Tulane and then Texas.
I'll take the team that's been most dominant in CISA the past couple years, and the home team for this regatta, Texas A&M Galveston for number 1. Tulane, I think, will pull out the number 2, and that 3rd spot is really tough, but I'm going to have to take the Longhorns, University of Texas, from right here in Austin.
Yep, I'm going with Texas A&M Galveston, Texas A&M, and Tulane.
Earlier in the program, Zeke mentioned the Connecticut College Camels giving up their weekend for the Sneater. But you know another group of individuals who also gave up their weekend? The umpires for that event. And these folks give up a whole lot of weekends for the benefit of college sailing, but they don't get a whole lot of attention. So this week, we thought we'd change that.
I remember when I was, I think, a freshman in college, we were sailing the Prosser at Navy, I think. And I remember we had to make 2 trips to the hotel, people who got to go back early who weren't in protest, and the other group of kids came back at like 10 o'clock at night. They were hearing protests from 6 until 10 o'clock at night, which is just insane. So having umpires on the water does, in fact, make the sport just 1,000 times better.
You have to just look at umpire team racing as 2 choices. Do you want to be in the old system where we're protesting and we're up all night and he says, she says, and it's very divisive, or do you want to have a decision on the water? And
I've been doing team race umpiring since it started, which is around 1993, something like that. I think I was at the first event in the United States that was umpired.
And I've been umpiring college sailing since before Anthony Katoon or Mark Ivey were college sailors of the year. So I don't even know if people know those guys anymore, but it was a while ago.
Sam's been busy on the circuit doing some umpiring at many of the larger interconference regattas of the spring so far. He's here. He's going to tell us a little bit about the transition from going from a player to an umpire. So Sam, thanks for being here, bud.
So the game's changed quite a bit. Back in the days of Mark Ivey and Anthony, I mean, we were first starting out just kind of looking for gross collisions where no one would do anything and like people hitting marks and not much more interaction than that. And nowadays, you know, it's a lot different. And the level of boat handling and rules knowledge is totally different as well. It's just skyrocketed. And so watching the collegiate national championships races is akin to watching, world-class ballet performing to a beautiful orchestra.
College sailing was very reluctant to accept umpiring. We were umpiring in lots of other kinds of races before we did college sailing. And I think that's come along. Now I get the sense that that coaches are much more supportive, really like it.
They've gotten a lot better at anticipating the game more, so they put themselves in positions to see the action a little bit better.
But that allows me to put my motorboat in the right places for, to see the overlaps and to see the fouling situations and, and what's going to happen next. And that's something that's very important that I can add in.
I give them a lot of credit. I've done some umpiring at the C.J. Buckley the last couple of years. We always do that shorthanded, and it's really, really hard to see everything.
As a really active team racer myself for many, many years, I much preferred having a decision, even if some percentage of them were wrong. You could move on, you could still win the race. And over the course of a regatta, I think it usually works out.
Probably the two biggest changes in umpiring for college is the single flag and hand signals with tacking. Single flag being the bigger change, where it just makes the whole procedure simpler. And it's nice not seeing, people getting green flag because of a procedural error.
I'd never done the one flag system. Neither had any of the sailors, neither had any of the coaches, and so on. We've all been preparing for it, but it's different when you're out there doing it.
I was from the beginning really against the single flag system. I haven't really changed my mind on that at all, but it is what it is, and we're going forward with it.
If you really slice and dice it down, I think competitors have lost, maybe like a 3-second window of kind of thinking about, hey, should I bring the umpires in or not? And for some people, that's a big deal. I think for, 99% of the time, it's not an issue.
The sailors are clearly getting used to it and getting more comfortable with it. And I think the umpires are too.
One big procedural rule change is from going from 3 marks to 4 marks. So, people have that new lower leg, and people are, playing that a little bit differently.
As boats go in and climb high and then come back down, usually jibing and coming back down on starboard tack to that mark, that's a new experience for a lot of umpires. They've never seen that before, because if they came out of college, they've never seen this before.
Umpires are, basically like a portable protest committee on the water. They're there to make the game more fun. We're real people. We can interact, so it's good to interact with umpires. Ask questions after the races. The debriefs are a really good opportunity to have, discussions about, hey, I thought this call could have gone differently on the water. On the water, use the umpires to clarify overlaps. Tell the umpires, if people are breaking Rule 42, say, hey, I think that guy's breaking Rule 42. In an incident, tell us what rule you think is broken. I think that can be helpful for an umpire to kind of understand, hey, why are these people, in an incident, what were they thinking, what was going on? And the umpires may not agree, but I think it's helpful to, have that interaction between the sailors and the umpires.
The umpires are supported by the coaches. We feel like we've got all those coaches behind us. We make calls. We know that back in the room, with their team, we're going to get the coaches' support.
The one talk that we have before every single season, before we get into the team racing with the umpires, I was like, umpires deserve all of our respect. It's for anyone who's actually been in the umpire boat, it's exceptionally challenging, even when you know what you're looking for.
It's not the guy who won the call who asked me over. It's the other guy. And I always get thanked by that sailor. I get thanked when I come ashore. I get a lot of support from the players, not just from the coaches.
The umpires themselves have said how many thank yous they get from race to race at the end of regattas, and the overall level of respect has apparently just come leaps and bounds from 5 years ago.
Likewise, relationship with coaches, really good rules learning point of view on both sides.
Personally, I think we have great umpires. I mean, will they make mistakes? Of course, but that's vastly preferable to the alternative, I think.
That's like my personal agenda, is trying to get the umpires paid. And again, I think we are so much relying on people to volunteer for that. And it's just so hard because we're there all weekend and those days are exceptionally long, and you get like some pizza or something like that, and that's it. There's no other really reward for helping our sports be the best that it can be. So that's my agenda. I think also college sailing is sort of uniquely set up to pay umpires because all of our other sports teams are already paying their officials. So there's, in a lot of cases, a budget line set up for that kind of thing.
I think it's way, way late. I honestly, okay, I'm an umpire, right? So obviously I like the idea of getting paid, but I think it's, I think it'll help to keep people going. It'll help to get you out there. It helps to explain when you're, 28, 30 years old and you've got a family and so on, and you're going to take a weekend away from that. It's a little bit of a help to be able to say, well, at least I'm going to make a few bucks. And the pay we're talking about is never going to be pay by anybody's real standards. But it's a nice appreciation, and I think it'd be great.
College sailing is just an amazing sport to be a part of. The players are fun, the coaches are fun. You get to go all around the nation to some of the finest areas of sailing, and team racing is a real chess game. I mean, if you're a rules junkie, it doesn't get any better than that, and you've got all sorts of wild permutations in team racing that you don't have in match racing, and so it's just super, super exciting.
Yeah, you're right. It's cold, and sometimes it's miserable. What keeps you doing? Gee, that's hard to say. It's mainly, I think, it's the coaches and the sailors. I mean, it's just so much fun to see people out there trying new moves, trying to improve their skills, and they take the sport seriously, and that's good. And so we do too.
One of the best things about moving straight from college sailing into umpiring is that after practicing being in the game, I understand where the sailors are going to go with their next move.
Some of the best umpires I've seen were seniors last year. They want to stay connected to the game. They love the sport. They love team racing. And here's a chance to pay back a little bit, and also to do something really fun.
And I think that's something that hopefully will be added on to in the future. Is we'll cycle more college sailors through to give back and and help improve the umpiring game. So it's fair sailing.
Thanks to all of our guests this week, as well as our contributors. That's all we've got, and we'll see you next week.
Good luck to everyone sailing this weekend.
Horowitz, out.